Black made a move. On a5, pause the video and try to predict White's next move. On a3. On b4. Black intends to play pawn takes a3 and take decisive advantage. Pawn takes b4 was chosen by White. Pawn takes b4. On a4. King d6. King f5. King d5. King takes g5. King d4. King f4. King c3. On g5. King takes b3. On g6. King a3. On g7. On b3. Pawn promotes to queen at g8. Pawn b2. Black has no response. Let's go to the next game. White just played King c2. Pause the video and try to predict Black's next move. On d4. Black considers playing pawn takes e3 and increase their advantage significantly. Pawn takes d4 played by White. Pawn takes d4. On e5. King takes b4. King d3. King takes b3. King takes d4. King b4. King d3. King c5. Black intends to play King d5. King d2. King takes e5 and secure a stronghold in the game. King e4 move preferred by White. King c4. Black's idea is to play King c5. King f3. King d5 and secure a stronghold in the game. King f3 played by White. King d4. On h4. Pawn takes h4. King g2. King takes e5. King h3. White's loss is confirmed. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. King c6. Pause the video and try to find White's next move. On g5. White wants to play pawn takes h6 and seize the initiative. Pawn takes g5 played by Black. Pawn takes g5. Pawn takes g5. King g4. White might go for King takes g5 and establish a winning position. Pawn takes f4 was chosen by Black. King takes f4. King c7. King g5. King d7. King takes g6. King e6. King g5. White is planning to play King g4. On a5. Pawn takes a5. King d7. King f5. King c7. King e5 and increase their advantage significantly. On a5 move preferred by Black. Pawn takes a5. King d7. King f5. King c7. King e5. King d7. King takes d5. King a6. White is clearly ahead. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. On g5. Pause the video to analyze White's next move. On g4. White wants to play pawn takes f5 and establish a winning position. Pawn f4 played by Black. King d3. King d5. Pawn c4 check. King d6. King e4. White is looking to play pawn c5 check. King c7. King takes e5 and gain a significant edge. Pawn f3 move preferred by Black. King takes f3. King e6. King e4. White is aiming to play on a5. King d6. On a6 and secure a stronghold in the game. On a6 move preferred by Black. On b5. White is looking to play pawn takes a6 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn takes b5 was chosen by Black. Pawn takes b5. Pawn takes b5. Pawn takes b5. King d6. Pawn b6. White is aiming to play pawn b7. King c7. King takes e5 and secure a stronghold in the game. King c6 move preferred by black. King takes e5. King d7. Black is on the verge of defeat. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. On h6. Pause the video to analyze white's next move. King c4. On takes g5. On takes g5. On e5. On h4. On f4. Black is setting up to play. On f3. On h5. On f2. King b3. On promotes to queen at f1 and secure a stronghold in the game. On takes f4. Move preferred by white. On takes f4. King d4. White is setting up to play. King takes e4 and take decisive advantage. On e3 was chosen by black. Black might go for. On e2. On h5. On promotes to queen at e1 and establish a winning position. King d3 played by white. King takes c5. On h5. King d5. On h6. White is setting up to play. On takes g7. King takes a5. On promotes to queen at g8 and dominate the board. On takes h6 played by black. On takes h6. King takes a5. On h7. White wants to play. Pawn promotes to queen at h8 and put immense pressure on the opponent. On f3 move preferred by black. King takes e3. King d5. On promotes to queen at h8. On a5 white is in a commanding position. Let's go to the next game. Black just played. On e4 pause the video to figure out white's next move. Black is looking to play. Pawn takes d3 and put immense pressure on the opponent. On takes e4 played by white. King e6. King f3. King d6. King e3. White might go for. King d4. On takes e4. King takes e4. King c6. King f5. King d5. King takes g5 and increase their advantage significantly. King e5 played by black. On b5. On takes e4. On c4. White considers playing. On a5. King d6. King d4. On e3. On c5 check. King e6. King takes e3 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King d6 played by black. King takes e4. On c6. On a5. On takes b5. On takes b5. King c5. On b6. White intends to play. Pawn takes a7 and put immense pressure on the opponent. On takes b6 played by black. On takes b6. King takes b6. King f5. King c6. King takes g5. King d7. Black is struggling to keep up. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. Pawn takes c5 check. Pause the video and try to find white's next move. King takes c5. King e7. King c6. White wants to play. King c7. On g4. On d6 check. King f6. On takes g4. On takes g4. On d7. King g6. On g3 and secure a stronghold in the game. King d8 was chosen by black. King d6. On f4. King e6. White is aiming to play. King f6. On h6. King g6 and establish a winning position. On h5 was chosen by black. Black is aiming to play. On g4. On takes g4. On takes g4. King f5. On f3. On g3. On f2. King takes g4. On promotes to queen at f1 and seized the initiative. King f5 was chosen by white. King e7. King takes g5. King d6. On h4. King c5. King takes h5. King takes d5. King g6. King e4. On h5. King d5. On h6. King c4. On h7. King d5. On promotes to queen at h8. White is looking to play. King f6. King c6. Queen 8 check and put immense pressure on the opponent. King b6. Black is outplayed. Let's go to the next game. Black just played. King f4. Pause the video to spot white's next move. On the 5. On takes c3 check. King c2. White's idea is to play. On takes b6. On takes b4. On b7. King g5. On promotes to queen at b8 and dominate the board. On takes a5 played by black. On takes c5. King e5. King takes c3. On a4. On d4 check. King e6. King b4. White is planning to play king takes a4 and increase their advantage significantly. On f5 move preferred by black. On takes f5 check. King takes f5. On d5. White is planning to play. On c6. King e5. On c7. King takes d5. On promotes to queen at c8 and take decisive advantage. On a3 was chosen by black. Black wants to play. On a2. On c6. On promotes to queen at a1 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King takes a3 played by white. King e5. On d6. White's idea is to play. On d7. King e4. King b3. King d5. King b4 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King e6 played by black. King a4. White is aiming to play. King a5. King d5. King b6. On a5. On d7 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King d7 played by black. King b4. White's idea is to play. King a4. King c6. King a5. King takes c5. On d7. King d4. On promotes to queen at d8 check and increase their advantage significantly. King c6 played by black. King a5. King d7. King b6. White is aiming to play. On c6 check. King takes d6. On c7. On a5. On promotes to queen at c8 and dominate the board. On a5 played by black. King takes a5. King e6. White is in a commanding position. Let's go to the next game. Black played. King c6. Pause the video and try to predict white's next move. On b4. White is planning to play. On b5 check. King b7. King takes c5 and put immense pressure on the opponent. On takes b4 move preferred by black. King takes b4. King d6. King c4. On h5. King d4. On g5. On h4. White might go for pawn takes g5 and establish a winning position. On f4 move preferred by black. Black intends to play. On f3. On takes g5. On f2. King e3. On promotes to queen at f1. On a5. King e5. On g6. Queen g2 and seize the initiative. On takes f4 was chosen by white. On takes h4. King e3. White is looking to play. King f3. King c6. King g2. On h3 check. King takes h3 and increase their advantage significantly. King e6 was chosen by black. King f3. White is looking to play. King g2. On h3 check. King takes h3 and gain a significant edge. On h3 played by black. King g3. King d6. King takes h3. On h4. On the 5. White is setting up to play king takes h4 and secure a stronghold in the game. King c6 played by black. On a6. King b6. On f5. White is setting up to play. On a7. King takes a7. On f6. King b6. On f7. King c6. On promotes to queen at f8 and seize the initiative. King takes a6 played by black. On f6. King b5. On f7. King b6. On promotes to queen at f8. White intends to play. Queen b4 check. King c6. Queen d4. King c7. Queen d5. King b8. Queen c5 and gain a significant edge. King c6 black is struggling to keep up. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. On h4 pause the video and try to predict white's next move. Black considers playing pawn takes g3 and seize the initiative. On takes h4 move preferred by white. King f4. King d6. King takes f3. King c7. White considers playing king takes b7 and increase their advantage significantly. King g3 move preferred by black. On h5. King takes h3. King takes b7. On the 5. King b6. King g4. King takes a5. King takes h5. King b5. King g4. King c4. King f5. On the 5. White is aiming to play. King d3. King f4. On a6. King e5. On a7. King e6. On promotes to queen at a8. King e7. King e4 and establish a winning position. King e4 played by black. On a6. White is aiming to play. On a7. On g5. On promotes to queen at a8 check. King e5. Queen g8. On g4. King d3 and gain a significant edge. King f5 played by black. King d3. King e5. King e3. White is aiming to play. On a7. King f5. On promotes to queen at 8 and gain a significant edge. King f5 was chosen by black. King f3. White is preparing to play. On a7. King e5. On promotes to queen at 8 and take decisive advantage. King e5 played by black. King g4. White is preparing to play. On a7. King e4. King g5 and seize the initiative. King e6 played by black. On a7. White might go for pawn promotes to queen at a8 and dominate the board. King f6 was chosen by black. Pawn promotes to queen at a8. White is planning to play queen e8, pawn g5, queen e1, king g6, queen f2, king h6, queen f6 check, and put immense pressure on the opponent. King e5 white is dominating the board. Let's go to the next game.